Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. Every Thursday morning is usually when we get the update from the Department of Labor on how many people turned to unemployment claims in the week prior. It's a holiday week, though, so we got that today on a Wednesday. And the overall picture, though, not specifically great. So Yahoo Finance's Emily McCormick here to tell us more about the unemployment claims that we saw this morning. Emily?
Well, Brian, taking a look at new weekly jobless claims, those actually did come in better than expected, but of course, still holding at a historically elevated level. Now, specifically, we saw those first-time filings for unemployment claims come in at 803,000. That's a pretty significant increase from the upwardly revised 892,000 we saw during the previous week, and also came in better than the 880,000 that had been anticipated. Now, that said, this was the third straight week that we've now had new claims come in at more than 800,000, and that's still around 4 times the weekly rate we've been seeing from before the coronavirus pandemic. Now, taking a look here at the state-by-state level, many did report declines in unadjusted new claims last week, and those were led by Nevada with a new claims decline of more than 33,000. Oregon's new claims dropped by nearly 13,000, and Indiana's new claims declined by almost 11,000. A couple notable increases as well, namely in South Carolina as well as in Colorado, but on the whole, declines elsewhere did offset these. Now, continuing claims, turning to those also did come in better than expected. Those fell to 5.3 million during the week ended December 12th. That was down from the 5.5 million during the prior week. And also worth noting that the number of Americans rolling onto those longer-term pandemic emergency unemployment compensation programs actually fell slightly in this latest data. Now, that's something that we'd seen actually increase over the course of most of November. So a welcome data point that we saw in this morning's report. This said, the total number of Americans still claiming unemployment benefits of any kind did hold above 20 million yet again this past week. So still quite a bit of joblessness here that we're seeing in the labor market, but at least that headline unemployment number on new claims did come in better than expected. Brian?
Hey, Emily, also looking at another piece of data we got this morning on consumer spending. It fell for the first time in 7 months. Also, personal incomes down more than 1% in November. So it looks as the number of coronavirus cases rises and hospitalizations rise, people are holding on to their money a little tighter.
That's right, Alexis. That does seem to be what this morning's data pointed to. More specifically, we saw personal income down 1.1% in November. That followed a 0.6% drop in October. And that was the largest drop in income that we've seen since August, which had been the first month that the weekly enhanced unemployment benefits had expired. Remember that took place at the end of July. Now, consensus economists have been looking for a drop of just 0.3%. So quite a bit bigger of a decline that we saw on the income side of the equation for the month of November. A similar story here we saw for personal spending. That was down 0.4% during the month. That was the first decline that we actually saw since April this year. And consensus economists had been anticipating that spending would fall by just 0.2%. Now, the last piece of data that I want to point to is the personal savings rate. So that's personal savings as a percentage of disposable income. And that actually came in at the lowest level since March. So consumers are not necessarily holding on to quite as much as they had during the peak of the pandemic earlier on in April. That's when we saw the personal savings rate actually spike to a record 33.7%. But again, still quite an elevated level here as we see consumers really starting to tighten their purse strings in absence of new benefits. And hopefully we will